Please welcome to the stage Alex White, co-founder and CEO of The Next Big Sound.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. My name is Alex White. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Next Big Sound, a data analytics company for the music industry. I'm very excited to talk to you about data and excited that Web Summit would have someone talking about data on the music stage. 5 years ago when we started the company, data in the music industry was not very exciting. There were no panels or speeches or anything about it. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we've been working on. I called this talk Social Crystal Ball because I'm interested in how public social data can help us better understand who's going to be popular before they're popular and help the music industry make smarter decisions. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently, This American Life, so I was inspired. I created 3 acts in this short talk, about 10 to 15 minutes. Act 1, we're going to be talking about just how much data is out there and the volume that we're talking about and how it's distributed across every artist in the world. The second part's going to be around decisions that the music industry is making through data and how they can make smarter decisions based on what's actually reacting in the marketplace. And lastly, going to talk about predictions for the future and recent successes we've had with our company. How many people have heard of Next Big Sound before, just a show of hands? Cool. So we track the online, I'll just tell you a bit about the company before we dive in here. We track the online music activity of every artist in the world. We've been doing this for 5 years, which means we have 5 years of historical data to go back and understand which artists break and the various steps along the way. And we work with thousands of artists and managers up to the biggest labels and distributors in the world, and recently started working with Fortune 50 companies like Pepsi and others to make smarter music-based decisions. So Act 1, how much data are we actually talking about here? In the first 9 months of 2014, we tracked 260 billion plays or streams. This is across Spotify, RDO, and the major streaming sites, across Vevo and YouTube and SoundCloud. This is up about 80% from the year prior, the first 9 months of the year. We tracked 8 billion new fan connections. So this is followers, page likes, subscribers. And I know that 8 billion is more than the population of planet Earth. This is not unique fan to artist connections. If I like an artist on Facebook and another artist, that's counted as 2 here, just for clarity's sake. This is up over 100% for the first 9 months of 2014 compared to last year. But any of us can go online and like or play or follow any artist in the world. But in this world of unlimited shelf space, what I expected to see was a very kind of healthy long tail where middle class of musicians were emerging. But what we see is almost the opposite of that. It's skewed even more towards the head of the industry. So for instance, in 2011, 86% of all new page likes or fans went to just 1% of artists. And you can see in 2012 and 2013 and 2014, it's not that much different. And this was very surprising for us to find. We thought it was going to follow the 80-20 rule where 80% went to the top 20, which is common across economics and real estate and lots of other arenas. But in the music industry, it's it's a hits-driven business, and even in a world of unlimited shelf space where any of us can like anything, increasingly we are liking a cluster of artists at the top of the chain. For the second part, I want to talk about specific data-driven marketing decisions, so selecting a single and measuring the marketing impact on various promotional events that happen for artists. And so I selected for the first example an emerging artist locally, U2, and I realized that most people haven't studied these release curves for many years like I have. This is what the usual release curve looks like after you put out a piece of new music. The day it release, you have the most activity, followed by a very quick decline to near zero. This is one of the biggest bands in the world, and you can see that one of their singles off their latest album started very high and dropped off almost immediately. This is the data set we're looking at is YouTube detection. So this is if the song is played in the background of a cat video, it still counts as an impression or a spin. This is a feed we get along with Nielsen SoundScan from YouTube directly, Google. This is California, The Miracle of Joey Ramone, the first song off their latest album. And this is when you can see that follows the normal release curve at the beginning, and then it starts to pick back up again. And this is because it's being used in the Apple commercials that are being played widely, if you've seen them in a few other promotional events. So just showing the power of promotion once that release is over, and how syncs obviously impact online activity. So the questions that we help our music industry clients answer is using all of this data around a very common process of which song should I push to radio or turn into a music video or kind of double down on as the one I think my fans most want to hear. And for the first song, first release, before the album comes out, you're guessing in the dark as to which song is going to react best with your fan base. You go based on your intuition, you go based on which song the artist likes the most, which song your radio contacts like the most. And that's the only way to do it. But for the second single, once the album's already out, instead of guessing in the dark, our savviest clients are increasingly using data across YouTube and Spotify and all the other streaming music services to understand which songs are actually reacting with the fan base, and using that to make decisions about which songs are worthy of doubling down on. And so this is a screenshot from Next Big Sound, but basically I loaded in all of the tracks off the latest album, and the second track is, it's pretty blurry so you can't see, but it's up 296%, and this is common of the second track to draft off the first one, so people will listen to the first, and the second one by nature often has a high play count. But there's two other tracks further down that also have triple-digit growth compared this past month versus the month prior. And those might be really great singles to look at for pushing to radio or making music video or sync licensing opportunities. Another artist I want to go back to is Lorde. So over the past 18 months, we've tracked all of the social and streaming and sales signals for this artist. And it's kind of like zooming all the way back to the Big Bang, where you can see at the beginning how many new plays, views, fans, and comments every artist was getting at the earliest possible stage. So this green line here is daily SoundCloud plays for Lorde. And you can see very clearly there's a spike and then a second spike. And that first spike was around the release of a BuzzFeed article with a SoundCloud embed saying, hey, you should check out this artist from New Zealand. She's fantastic. Her name is Lorde. And the second spike is when BBC Radio 1 started spinning this song for the first time. And you can see the sustain that comes off the SoundCloud plays over the following weeks. And that's the power of radio, of course, and continued promotion. And so just backstage before I was on, I was looking at comparing this to Spotify plays and iTunes track sales and iTunes downloads, Wikipedia page views, and seeing, this is around April, and this is right around when Sean Parker was adding this song very famously to his Spotify playlist. So there's lots of different factors here, but the idea is this artist, Lorde, isn't the first to be featured in BuzzFeed Music. Can we understand what the average lift in social streaming and sales numbers is for every artist that gets that promotional event or BBC Radio 1? And how can we use that data to develop marketing plans based on what's working and what's reacting with real fans in the marketplace? And a lot of what our clients, this doesn't have to be BuzzFeed and Radio 1. It could be a coffee shop gig and a blog post mention, but looking at what other artists are seeing once they do similar promotional events and using that to bake in a data-driven approach to marketing is increasingly what we see our clients doing. And the last part of this talk, part 3, is wanted to walk you through a few similar cases around artists from their earliest possible stage up to worldwide superstardom, and that's the really fascinating thing. One of the misconceptions about Next Big Sound is that it's just about public social data, but we're really actually only interested in that insofar as what it can tell us about sales and future popularity. So if you think about your own music listening activity before you go to a concert, before you buy an album, before you make any sort of purchase decision, you typically are researching online, and that could be pulling up an artist's Wikipedia page or listening to their music on YouTube or streaming it somewhere else. And all of those signals are fairly meaningless and noisy at an individual basis, but when you look collectively across the whole planet and you see what everyone is watching and listening to and reacting to, you become you're much more able to see the broader patterns emerge. So when I'm talking about the volume of spotting the next big sound or the next big star at the earliest possible stage, how many artists is this that we're actually speaking about? And it's not that many, as anyone in the music industry knows, in a given year. So in the last 365 days, there were only 961 artists that appeared on the Billboard 200 album chart. We just use that as a proxy for popularity. And only 204 of those artists were appearing for the first time ever. For the Billboard Hot 100, which is a track-based chart on streaming, social, and sales and radio, there were only 249 artists that appeared on that chart in the last year, and only 43 making their first ever appearance on that chart. And this is really important to kind of understand, is you could chart at number 99 and still not be worldwide superstar, of course. It's really, the artists we're interested in are just the ones mostly in the top 10 or top 5 even. And that number, is very, very small. And I want to walk through 2 of those cases. So Iggy Azalea in 2012, she charted on our Next Big Sound chart. So we licensed 2 charts to Billboard, the Social 50, which is the most popular artist on the social networks, and that was basically Justin Bieber for hundreds and hundreds of weeks. It's now Taylor Swift and Demi Lovato. And then this Next Big Sound chart, which is our statistically most likely list of artists that are likely to be the next big sound next. And so we charted her, and the blue line is daily new Twitter followers, and the red line is daily Facebook page likes. And this curve looks similar whether you're looking at streams or videos, just to be clear. And so in January 2012, she charted on our Next Big Sound chart and was already starting to react in a much smaller way. A little over a year later, in July, the font screwed up, but it's an 80% likelihood for success. And so what we're doing is assigning a likelihood to every artist in the world that they will be a success within 6 to 12 months from today. And the success criteria we used in this particular case is to chart on the Billboard 200 album chart, since a lot of our clients, that's a metric they look at very closely. And so she did make her Billboard 200 debut in April of this year, charting number 3, and planning an arena tour for this year. And some of the automated insights we're delivering, I don't want to focus too much on Next Big Sound, but it's just the industry context that is so important for the music industry. So Iggy Azalea is in the 100th percentile, so you really can't get bigger than Iggy Azalea. And she performed best on Wikipedia, adding an average of 38,000 page views per day over the last 90 days, which is 609 times the expected growth for an audience of this size. And so by tracking every artist and being able to compare, we're able to deliver plenty of information around how this performance is doing relative to other artists, because obviously nothing exists just in a vacuum. Sam Smith emerged as an artist to watch on our Next Big Sound chart July 2013. Earlier this year, hit the 80% likelihood for success and debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 in July of this year. And so this makes sense when you're tracking the wide breadth of artists. Remember the numbers that we were talking about at the very beginning of Act 1, which is 260 billion plays in the first 9 months of this year. And which of those artists then, of those 260 billion plays, are likely to emerge and as big sellers and global superstars? And it's a very small number of them. Sam Smith, just to read one of these bullets, has 701 million Vivo video views, placing him at the Epic Artist stage, which is the kind of last and final stage for artists that have over 400 million Vivo video views, which is an astronomical amount of activity. And as we've gotten into the brand world in the last 6 or 9 months, the volume of activity in music I hadn't realized is so staggering to the world of brands who are kind of paying through the teeth for likes and engagements and video views, and music has this in such spades. And I'm very excited about the opportunity of marrying the reach that artists have alongside the brands and what the audience they need to reach. And the last thing I'll leave you with is the top of our predicted charts for the next 6 to 12 months. Alesso, Jasmine V, Tiana Taylor, and Dylan Francis are the 4 artists that have the highest likelihood of success and are starting to get mainstream radio play. And I don't know if this is being recorded, but will be interesting to see over the next 6 to 12 months how this goes and plays out. It's not a perfect science, but we're getting there. And thanks for your time and attention.